Hi guys, welcome to the War Room. And you guessed it, another fantastic Testimony Tuesday. So I am in the clear to take a break from the trauma session part of my life, which I'm so glad for a moment. And I'm going to redirect it in a different direction today. We're going to talk about my I don't know the word I want to use, introduction to the spiritual realm, when I first start seeing things from the spiritual side of the realm, the spiritual realm, and the things we don't see with the natural eye. As I told you before in past testimonies, that I always saw and experienced things, but I could not explain them. And so I always had that sense. And I just didn't know what I was seeing, couldn't explain it, anything like that. And God didn't stop doing that from the age 8 all the way up to 18. And 18 is when he started explaining it to me, how things work and how things are in the spiritual realm. And my first real experience and real encounter with the spirit realm starts with this testimony that I'm going to share with you guys today. I've always had visions and I've always had dreams. And I have a book over here full of them throughout the years, things that he has shown me, and some things I didn't even write down. I kept them in my mental because they're there no matter what. I can speak on them as if I seen it just yesterday. But anyway, today's testimony, we're going to talk about when I was 18 years old. I know I was 18 because I'm going to try to lump two testimonies in one if I can. When I turned 18, well, you all go back and look at the other testimonies. When I was 17, I ran away, yada, 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 did all of that. So when I came back, I don't know how much time had passed when I got back, but I know my birthday had came right when I got home. It wasn't like as soon as I got home. But my birthday came, and I remember sitting at the table the night before my birthday. And I guess I was just so grateful to be home. I told you guys I didn't go outside for a while because I was worried about that man coming back and trying to get me or telling them where he dropped me off. So I didn't go outside for a while. So here I am, day before my 18th birthday, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table in my mom's house. And I'm listening to the radio, and a song comes on by Kirk Franklin that says, "The Reason Why We Sing." You all know that one. That's the reason why we sing. So it came on, and I'm listening to this song, and I just start boo-hooing. I laid my head down on the table, and I started crying. I didn't know what was happening. There was an overwhelming sense of happiness, joy. Well, why am I crying then? So anyway, that's what happened. And after that song went off, I was impelled to just ask the Lord to save me, to do something for me, to change me, because I don't want to live in fear. I didn't want to live like that. A scared teenager, never wanting to go outside, traumatized from the childhood trauma and then teenage trauma and all of that. So do something for me. If you real like you say you are, do something for me. So I didn't feel anything at that point. All is well. Went to bed, got up the next day. My mom had already planned something, I guess, in her mind. She said $50 on the table. I remember my cousin being there. And she was like, "You 18, girl, what you gonna do today?" And I'm just sitting here, I'm this boring young adult. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I don't know. I don't want to do anything. She was like, "Girl, you 18. You don't want to go to the club?" And I'm like, "The club? No, I don't want to do that." And so Mom like, she set the $50 on the table. She was like, "Here, we got a surprise for you." So she was like, "First go. I guess I had a robe on. Go put some clothes on." So I went in the room, put my clothes on. I come back out. My mama had the table laced with, I guess, any type of alcohol you could want. I guess. But the only one stuck out to me was the beer. And so I was like, I don't want none of that, because I remember how I felt as a kid. and how the traumas I faced just seeing that stuff, and just anyway, that's a whole nother testimony. And I try not to spoil it for the ones that I want to tell, so I try to go back off of it. And she's like, you don't want none of this? I said, no, but I'll take the $50. So I took the $50, and she said, well, what you gonna do? I said, I just want to lay down. I don't want to do. I said, I got a headache, because at that moment I had the most terrible headache, and I couldn't explain it or describe it. And she says, okay, you need some aspirin? And I'm like, yeah, I need something. So she gives me an aspirin, and I guess she decides to give me the beer anyway, just to see if I don't like it. She know I didn't like that stuff. So she bought some beer in a paper cup, and she said, here, drink this. She said, just put it in your mouth and drink it. So I'm looking at the stuff. You know, I don't really have a sense of smell, because like I said, I can't rely on my sinus, my nose, because I stay congested. So I thought it was apple juice, because that's the same color it was. So I popped the pill in. I'm praying that it was an aspirin at the time, because what I felt after that, I don't think it was. It probably was. Let me stop there, because I ain't gonna make it sound like my mama was giving me some drugs, and she wasn't. So I take the aspirin and I drink the stuff, and you know, I didn't really drink down. I swallowed the aspirin and it got stuck, because I really don't know how to do swallowing all of that with aspirin and pills. And so I'm trying to hurry up and glut that down to help move it. And then I noticed that taste was so bitter and nasty, and I spit and I dropped the cup. And I was like, what is this? And she was like, it's beer, girl. You like, I'm like, I was like, why you do that? I started crying. I was like, I don't want that. And I'm just crying. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I just want to lay down. Can I please go lay down? And she was like, oh, you serious? I'm like, yeah, Mom, I don't want that stuff. She was like, okay. So my cousin was like, oh, what's wrong? What's wrong with us? So I go lay down, and I slept for a minute, because I don't know. I'm gonna leave that where it's at. I slept for a minute. So fast forward, I don't remember the rest of that day. I guess I was trying to forget it. I don't remember the rest of that day, but I do recall some time had passed, and it was probably the next day or whatever, but we get a phone call saying that my stepdad had died or passed away. And so my mom tells us, and we're sitting at the house. Little did I know that God was working on me that day on my 18th birthday. That the request that I made the night before when I was 17, that I wanted him to save me and do something and change my life. I did not know that's what was happening to me. I thought something was wrong with me. I didn't have a desire to do anything. Not like I did before anyway. I was a boring little kid. It ain't like young adult, it ain't like I partied or did anything like that. So I wasn't expecting nothing fantastic, but I just lost the desire to even want to try anything or to do anything wrong or bad. Although there were some things that did transpire later on, even after I got saved. I'm gonna tell you guys about that too. Okay, so anyway, we got that call, and we're all sitting around. You know, it wasn't my older sister wasn't around at the time, so I was the oldest in the house, and I'm like, you know, they like, what they telling us for? We not going to the funeral. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to my brothers. Now, all four of my brothers were his biological kids. It was just my mom's girls, all three of the girls that were not, the three girls that was living in the home, because she had four girls alive at the time, but one wasn't with us. And the three that were raised in the home were the ones who were suffering and whatever, but we weren't his. So my brothers are saying they don't want to go. They getting mad, and they was like, Robin, what you think? And I was like, I think we should go. And they looked at me like, you kidding, right? I said, no, I'm going. And they looked at me, they was like, well, if you go, we gonna go. And I was like, okay. So it's settled. We going to his funeral. But see, even though God was doing something for me, I wasn't aware. So I still had a little pushback, if you must say, for, you know, my feelings toward the man and all of that. So in my mind, I was like, Well, why do you want to go robbing? I just want to make sure the man really dead. That was just me at that time. And so my brothers and sister, they was like, we really gonna go? And they was like, you really gonna go? And I was like, yeah. And they was like, well, we gonna follow your lead. What you gonna do? I said, I want to see if he really gone. And I said, we should come up with a plan. And they was like, well, we listening. What's the plan gonna be? So the plan was for me, since I was the leader, and I guess I had the most disdain for him at that time, to go up to the casket when they said it was time, and look down in there, spit on him, and pull the casket over, or try to pull him out of the casket. Crazy, right? And just let everybody see what we dealt with, how much hate we had for him. You know, that was the plan. That's what we had. And they was like, yeah, as long as you gonna do it, you gonna do it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, because I'm not scared of him. He gone. That if he really gone, then I'm not scared of his family. You know, that was just. So we get ready. We go to his funeral and everything. We get there, and all of his family is there. And all of his family is there. And the kids that grew up in the house with him, which is us. My mom didn't go, of course, and I don't blame her. So we get there, we're at the funeral. I can't even say I remember how it went, the whole service part. I just remember what I experienced when I went to the casket. I guess I have blocked everything out now, but I don't recall enjoying being there or happy to see any of his family or anything like that, or nothing. I don't remember all of that, thank God. But when they opened the casket, because when you come in, they let you go see the people that's in the casket. We didn't do that. We just went and sat down next to grandmama. We just went and sat, and because his kids and everything. So we sat on the front row, sat next to her, and probably his brothers, and and then their wives and kids, follow in the next row and all that stuff. So they open up that session for us to go and view again. And I'm feeling something working up in me, because I don't know if it was fear. I don't think it was, because I was pretty brave at this point, because I'm like, yeah, excuse my French, I was like, that nigga really gone, Excuse me if that's a wrong thing to say. But those of y'all that know me know I got a sense of humor. And I don't curse, but it might be some words I use as an acronym, but I'll say something like that every now and again. Still don't make it right, but I was like, yeah, he really gone. So I'm like working up, and my brothers and sisters looking at me, and they like, "Nudge, you gonna go?" And I'm like, yeah. And they just like, I guess they scared, because they like, oh my gosh, is she really gonna do it? And I walk up to the casket. I guess wasn't nobody behind me, so I guess I just had to go last after his mom and all of the other people went. I went, and I get up to the casket, you guys. And I look in the casket, and as I'm looking in the casket, and I lean over. Now I'm ready. I'm ready to do what we had planned. I'm ready to pop off. I'm ready to boom, boom, boom. And I open my mouth, and what comes out shocked me. Because I'm getting ready to curse and do all of this and say all this negative stuff. And when I open my mouth, I forgive you and everything you did to my mother, my sisters and brothers, and me. I forgive you. And when I said that, I quickly grabbed my mouth, and I just did my eyes like this. I was just like, because I'm thinking, did my siblings see that? I mean, did they hear me? And when I said I forgive you, I swear, it was like two gigantic hands. And I say gigantic because touch me like this from behind, as if somebody was standing behind me. And it did just like that. Like it was pulling something off of me. And it pulled, so it came from my core, from below, and it pulled and pulled and pulled, and whatever they pulled out of me, and I start crying and boo-hooing right there at the casket, like I was missing him or something, or sad that he was gone. I think that's how my siblings took it, because I'm standing there and I'm just like, and then I move my hand, I'm just crying because I couldn't move. So I'm still leaned over and I'm crying, and as I cry, and the tears fell on his suit, clothes, whatever, I think at that point I was transported to the spiritual realm. I can't even begin to describe it because you guys probably wouldn't believe me, but spiritual realm is real. There is a place outside of earth. So I guess my tears opened up and I saw his suit. It was like, oh, melting away, just separating his flesh. Everything was just separating, and there was a big hole. It was like a portal in the casket, opened up. And I kid you not, I saw hell. And say what you want, and I'm not saying this just to say that that's where he went, but this is my experience, and it's the truth, and it's what happened, and it's what I saw. This man was screaming, and he was looking up as if he saw me, but he also looked to the side as if he was talking to somebody next to him. And he was like, I'm sorry. He was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm looking, and the tears steady flowing. But at that time, I'm just like in awe, because I'm captivated with what I'm seeing. And I'm not even afraid anymore. I'm looking, and I see these demons with long nails and swords and knives, and they're slashing and snatching, and like they could do one swipe and swipe his skin off. And then I saw fire from his feet flame up and go out. And it started over again, bottom, back to the top. And every time it did that, he was like, I'm sorry. And then it stopped for 1 second. And he was like, you forgive me. And then he turned and said, see, she forgives me. Can you please get me out of here? Oh my gosh, I didn't understand that then. I'll explain to you what that means after I get to telling you the what I saw. And when he said that, see, she forgives me, you can get me out of here. And then it started back up again. And he was screaming and he was screaming. And he was like, can I tell my brothers? Can I tell my mother? And the demons just kept on. They just kept slashing and slashing. And he was just screaming. And the more he screamed and the more they slashed, the more I felt sorry for him. The more I cried. Okay. Dang, I didn't think this one was going to be hard. Because it don't matter what people do to you in this life. It don't matter what people do, period. They're going to have to answer for how they live in this life. And I'm not going to say he was in hell because he was a bad person. That's not what I'm saying. He sent us to church. He sent us to church when I was 13. He sent us to church. We went to church. Our pastor was Reverend Moore and them. It was a Mr. and Miss Reverend Moore, Pastor Moore and his wife. And we stayed on 1400 South Albany on the west side of Chicago, Illinois. And we went to church, but he never stepped foot in the church. He was sent us. And so he did help sow a seed to that. So it doesn't matter what people do to you in this life. I don't think he went because he was a bad person. I think he rejected Jesus as his Lord and personal Savior. And that is what was revealed to me. You don't go for being a bad person. What you do in this life sets the tone for the next. Just like when you study at school, you are setting the tone for your future. What you're doing here now matters for later. And I believe that even though he wanted to say he believed in Jesus, he just never did. And whatever happened in his life kept him away from that. Because I asked, why was I seeing that? Why did you let me see that? And why is he there? Like, I wanted to know. And that's what was told to me later by my Father in heaven. And so as I'm crying and I'm seeing him being tortured by these demons, they were running from everywhere. You had some around him it's like they were assigned to him. And then you had others like, hey, tag, my turn, let me get in. And these things were not they were not, they were not playing fair. They didn't have any compassion. They didn't care. I saw rats crawling up his leg, biting. It was like terrible. It was so scary that I was crying for him because I wanted him to get out. I'm like, whoever he talking to, get him out. And then as I'm looking, when I said, I do forgive you, everybody heard me. Then the vision closed. And I shook my head and I'm like, wait. Cause like I wasn't done. Like I had so many questions I didn't understand. And that was my first encounter, and there have been more since then. And it's been celebrities I've seen. It's been a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna leave that alone because I wasn't comfortable with some of the ones I saw. Go to that place. But I stood up, and in disbelief, I just started backing up. Then I turned around and went to the seat and sat down. And I hear Grandmama say she loved her daddy. And I'm just sitting there like, I couldn't say nothing. I couldn't say she was right. I couldn't say she was wrong. I didn't know what to say. All I know is what I just saw. And the whole time I'm shaking and I'm sitting there and I put my hands under my legs and I'm just rocking. And my siblings looking at me like, that wasn't the plan. What happened to the plan? And I just was rocking and crying. I couldn't even explain to them. And I kept that from them all the way till I made 28, 29. I had just recently revealed it to my sisters and probably my baby brother. I had never revealed that before. And I just recently told my mom at 40 something what I saw, because, you know, at that time, you think you're crazy. You don't know what you're looking at. And if you don't have a real good explanation, you really can't say anything. After that, we went to the gravesite, and as they was putting the casket down below, people were already leaving. They were walking off. It was the first of the month, too. I never forget that. It was the first of the month. People had things to do, so they were going. I was like, dang. Don't nobody love them enough to stay. So, you know, I'm just standing there. And of course, we rode with somebody. So, of course, we had to leave when they leave. But as I looked back at that casket going down in that ground, I said, oh, my gosh, he's really gone. He's really gone to that place. And I had compassion for him. I did. And at that point, I didn't realize what was happening to me. But God gave me the gift of forgiveness. And as he's whispering to me in the car, everything God talking to me in the car, he talking to me now. Now I hear him and I hear his voice and I'm like, okay, this got to be you. This got to be God, because I had just asked you yesterday or whatever day it was. I just asked you recently to come into my life. And I knew it was him because nobody could explain what I just saw. Nobody could do that. And nobody could explain what happened to me when it was pulled out of me. All the hate, all the unforgiveness, all of the everything was pulled out of me. He said, you have the spirit of forgiveness. And he said, and it's a gift, and you will no longer walk this world or this earth not forgiving anybody, no matter what's done to you. And at the time, I didn't understand what he meant and what he was saying to me, but I do. I really do understand it, because that's how I am. Anybody that know Robin can tell you, you know, it doesn't matter what's been done or what has been done. It might look like I'm a fool to you. It might look like, oh, you can get over on her, or nope. It's because of this, what I saw. I will never walk around in unforgiveness ever in my life, no matter what it is. That place is so dark. It is so cold. It is so unreal, but it is real. Hell is real. And I wouldn't want my worst enemy to go there. And I said to myself, well, God, if I can forgive him, I can forgive anybody. And I held on to that vision even when I got back home and Mama asked us how was the funeral. We was like, well, he gone. He dead, you know. I can't say everybody else's reaction was like mine. Mine was supposed to have been the worst one. But at that moment, I just was like, yeah, he gone. He really gone. And she said, Robbie, you been crying? And I was like, mm-hmm. She was like, why? I said, when other people cry, it make me cry. I couldn't tell her what I just saw. I couldn't say that. You know, I didn't know if somebody's going to punch me in my mouth or hit me if I tell somebody that. You know, people don't understand things like that, so they, you know, they get offended in different ways. And I don't think my mom would have been offended had I said that in front of my grandmama or you know, his mom or his brothers, somebody probably would have jumped on me. You know, I was always scared to get jumped on or beat up because I couldn't fight at all, y'all. Gotta put some humor in there. But I learned from that day I had a desire to do God's will. I had a desire to get in the word and learn more. Now I wanted to understand this place, and I wanted to see things. And be careful what you ask for, because throughout my life I got that wish, and it wasn't nothing I wished for. I just wanted to know. But it was pertaining to the gift that he had given me earlier at 8, and now it was all coming to fruition, and I could see things. And now I understand what I'm seeing. I understand what I'm looking at. But then I thought about what was that when I got to the casket, and I was supposed to say this, and I was supposed to do that. What happened, God? What was that? And I was reminded of a story. Haman had called for him to curse the children of Israel. And he was supposed to curse the children of Israel from the north, east, south, and west. But when he got there and he opened his mouth, north, east, south, and west, blessings came out. And so I started to understand how God works. See, our desires, beloved, are nothing like God's. And when he calls you and when he chooses you, flesh gotta die. Everything that you want to do or you think you want to do, when God calls you and he puts his hand on you and his mark on you, you can no longer do those things. You can no longer walk or act in those ways. And that's what was happening to me at that time. I have carried so much compassion for what I saw that I didn't understand, and I kept asking questions. And I said, well, God, who was he talking to when he said, see, she forgives me, you can get me out of here? And I read in the scripture where David says, if I make my bed in hell, you're there. Or if I fly to the most other parts of the earth, you're still there with me. Wherever we decide our destiny is going to be, at the end, Jesus is going to be there anyway. Not saying Jesus is in hell, but I believe that's who he was talking to. I couldn't see him. I didn't see Jesus there, but maybe he did, because it's in the word that the rich man and the beggar, and they both died, and the beggar was carried into Abraham's bosom, but the rich man went straight to hell. And he said, can I send somebody to go tell my brothers? I have brothers and father. He wanted to go warn his people. And he said, no, they got the prophets and they got the ministers. They got all them people. Let them hear them. And he was like, when this beggar was here, or if you didn't even give him a morsel of the crumb that fell on the floor, like, and when I read that story, it took me back to what I saw. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus was there with him, and he was just letting them know, nope, this is where you made your bed. You can't get out. And I don't say those things to make anybody angry. If there are some family members that seem to be watching it from his side of the family, I don't say that to upset anybody. That is not what I'm doing. I am letting you know that this is not our final destination. It is not, beloved. It is not. Whether you choose Jesus or not, that is your ticket to where you go afterwards. No, there's no resting place, no holding place that you're going to sit there and wait till the rapture is over and all of that stuff, and then God going to come get you. No, no, no. Read your Bible again. Get to understand it. And for those of you who read it and looking over all of that, and you rather preach and talk about all the things that you think is important to talk about, you better start telling these people about forgiveness. Tell them how real it is, how it frees you, and it doesn't hold you captive, and it's not for the person. It is for you. You better teach people how to love one another, because there is a place made for those who reject Jesus. There is. I'm sorry, there is. And I'm sorry, but not sorry. There's a place. And my prayer would be for us to get it right. Give our lives over to a higher purpose. Now, some people think their higher purpose is, you got people in the industry, you got people that are dealing with darkness, and they think it's a joke. They're mocking God, and they are wearing all these horns and all this stuff. I don't even want to get into all of that. Oh God, so much has been revealed. I can see demonic spirits coming through smoke at people's concert. I got pictures. Like, God reveals stuff. You just don't know because I don't talk about it. I don't tell it. It just be stuff I just keep to myself. But I got it written down. I'm saying all that to say, beloved, there is more to life than the natural side of things. Get your life together. Get it in order. Jesus is coming back. And when he comes back, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? So, as always, I always have a scripture for you. During that time when I was trying to figure out what was in me, what was God doing on the inside of me, he gave me Ephesians chapter 3, the whole entire chapter, but I'm not going to read that. I'm just going to read a few verses that stuck with me, that helped me. And that's verse 16 through 20, and it says, that he will grant you, according to the riches of his glory, not mine, but his, to be strengthened with might by the Spirit, because God is a spirit in the inner man. You can't deal with God in the flesh. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. And I wish people would teach that more so that they would understand. You can't just get people saved and leave them out here with no knowledge. Help them understand. But anyway, let me continue on. That Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith, that you being rooted and grounded in love, okay, may be able to comprehend, that's just understand with all the saints, what is the breadth, length, depth, and height, and to know the love of Christ, which passes all knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Ooh, the fullness of God. Not nobody else, not nothing else. So my favorite one was 20, and that says, now unto him that is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you could ask or think, according to the power that work in you. When all of that stuff was moved out of me, God's power was able to dwell on the inside. His presence was able to dwell on the inside. That's why I was making choices I didn't understand. That's why I was forgiving people I didn't understand. So that offense they did to me, that ain't nothing compared to the offense one man did to me. And I held that hatred almost half of my life as a youth. And God removed it. There is nothing you could think of in your mind that God won't exceed. If you feel like you're struggling with hatred or whatever it is that you're dealing with, from trauma, past, somebody hurt you, like I said before, it might have been a divorce, it might have been a backstabbing friend, might have been a church member, it might have been a leader in the church, it might have been it could be anybody, it could be your children, whatever, whoever. You got to let that mess go. You got to be strengthening your inner man. You have to deal with the things of this world in the spirit. I had a conversation with somebody once, and I told them, I said, everything is spiritual. Said, everything ain't spiritual, Robin. You just like that. Just because you are holier than thou, or you so spiritual, you can get it. And I'm like, no, that ain't what I am. I'm not holier than thou. I'm not. I'm walking in holiness because I am the righteousness of God. Get it corrected, because I am. But I don't act like I'm better than anybody else. I just have some information that sits me in a different place and position than most people. And that's offensive to most, because I believe what I walk in. And it ain't got nothing to do with no white man's Bible or no, the white man kept us in slavery and all that stuff. White man's Christianity is a white man's, all of that, really, all of that. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I'm a spiritual being, because guess what? God is a spirit. And they that worship him, I said it, yes, I did, must worship him in spirit and in truth. And the things that he entails and imparts in me through his word, through visions, through dreams, through taking me out of my physical body to a spiritual realm and showing me different things, allowing me to feel it and come back to write it down. I don't always tell everybody. No, I don't always tell everybody. No, I don't tell people nothing. I don't. I'm telling this one today because he allowed me to tell this one. I didn't know it was supposed to come next, but this is the one he gave me. But that doesn't make me better. It just means I have an understanding of who God is and what he does and how he works. And I don't look at the world as if the natural is all there is. It's so much more to it than that, brother and sister. It is so much more to that. So I've been strengthening my inner man. And my prayer for you today is that you be strengthening your inner man. That the Lord will open the eyes of your understanding, that you may be enlightened, so that you may know what the depth, width, breadth, and height of Jesus Christ is. All that he did for you on the cross, y'all think that was just for show? Yeah, that movie is really good that Mel Gibson did, Passion of Christ. It really is. But I think that's the pretty version of what Jesus went through. The Bible says you couldn't even tell if he was a man or a woman. So he went through some stuff for you and I. And for me to sit here and walk this life and act like ain't nothing to it, but to say, oh, hey, I go to church. I did my due diligence up today. But then I got my neighbor across the street saying she ain't got no toilet paper. And she come and ask me for a roll. And I'm, now get your own. No, that's not it. That's carnal thinking. No, that's not it. It has to be deeper. There is something else outside of the natural. That's why the Bible tells us to put on our whole armor of God, because we are not wrestling against flesh and blood. The things that you are dealing with, beloved, they're spiritual. They're supernatural. You just don't see it. But if you get in your word, you get in your Bible, and you understand the spiritual things of God, then you connect with his heart. And so that's my prayer for you, that you will connect with God's heart, that you will begin to ask him, Lord, teach me your way. Show me your heart. What are some things, Lord God, that touch your heart? The things that I need to pray for, concern myself with, not just watching the news every day and looking at it. Oh, Lord, that's so sad. But you ain't praying about it. You just saying how sad it is with all the killing and the political stuff and all that. You just, but you are not searching the deep things of God to find out what the answer, what should you be praying? What should your part be in that? It's more than just voting. Come on, people. Come on. And I pray for those of you who are in Christ and you lost your way, that you get reconnected. Because your relationship with God is just on the line. He doesn't leave your life. But it's just like a marriage. If you don't work at that thing, it can't get better. It can't get better. So I pray that you will begin to search your heart and ask God to help you to understand what his real purpose for your life is. I know what my purpose is. I know what my purpose is. And even though I have laid it down for 18 years, it's time to pick it back up. It's time to pick it back up. God called me to do something a long time ago, and I set it down because a man told me to set it down. Yep, that'll never happen again. That'll never happen again. It is time, beloved, it is time, preachers, pastors, leaders, churches, stop with the entertainment. It's time. It's time to get off of seeking our own will for doing things and see God's. Because it is so much going on, and we so blind because most of us are not walking in the spirit. And the ones that say it don't take all that spiritual stuff and all of that, you think you're better than the one, even the Christians that say, or the believers that say, and I can't say believers, just Christians or whatever, that say it don't take all of that and she holier than thou. Those are the ones who are still connected to their flesh. They don't want to let that part of themselves go. They don't want to let it go. They like to straddle the fence. They like to be lukewarm. But guess what God said he'll do if you're lukewarm? Spew you out of his mouth. You either hot or you cold. I'm hot. I'm on fire for God. What are you? So I went way over my time, but I thank you for viewing. And for those of you who are viewing for the first time, there are several testimonies before this one. Not like this one, though. I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, or go ahead and view it on TikTok. I will no longer be putting the testimonies on Facebook. I have left instructions on Facebook that if you want to view them, you have to go over to TikTok, or you have to go over to YouTube. And I really don't want to do TikTok either, but whichever way God tells me to put it out, social media, I will do so. God bless you, brother, sister. I pray that God continues to keep you in his will, and that you will find whatever it is that you need from him, so that you can go forth and do what he has called for you to do in this life. in this time, in this day, in this season, and before it's all over with. Because Jesus is coming back. And for all those who don't believe in him, to each his own. I'm just glad I'm not one of them. I believe in him. Thank you for joining me in the war room. Till next Tuesday.